Hello YouTubers, welcome to the channel. I'm Wayne, and as always I want to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already. If this is your first time checking out one of the videos, welcome aboard to Wayne's World of Mandolin. If you're interested in Skype sessions, you can reach out to me about that too for some one-on-one time. There will be an email in the description of each video that I put up here. Today is chord day. I try to get to one of these every now and then, and the goal here is to eventually have a complete sort of resource for finding not only a specific chord, but how to build different voices of chords. Today, we're going to talk about the minor 7 chord, a couple of different inversions of it and why it is what it is. For starters, we're going to build the chord. I'm going to demonstrate this with an A minor 7, but I'm going to start with an A chord that's voiced in this particular inversion. More of a bar chord, if you wanted to call it that. 2nd fret, barred. Then I'm playing the major 3rd on the 4th fret of the A string, and then the root note of A there. So as you know, if we're going to play a minor chord, you would flatten the 3rd. Okay, if we're going to play a 7, the 7th note of the A scale is an A flat. Let's listen to that. Whoa, that's not the minor 7. The minor 7 would be to a G note. Just like if you're playing a regular A chord, Bill Monroe chop chord, and somebody says, hey, it goes to an A7 right there. They're talking about a flat 7 note. The major 7 note would be the 7th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But if somebody says, hey man, that's an A7, you're talking about adding a G note to that chord. So that's the same thing that's going to happen with this minor 7. Check out that shape. It's really fun to play. It's fun to groove on. You can see all those upstrokes on that G and C note. If you don't have a feel for that, there's a video up here also about different styles of rhythm playing, like halftime rhythm stuff. You could check that out too for some right hand to apply to this voice. That's so fun, such a cool sound, and again, it colors, or if you wanted to think of it as kind of harmonizing the chord, because what we have there, I want to make a big deal out of this, the chord is built on intervals of 3. So if we started on an A note, and we play up to that minor 3rd, 1, 2, 3, there's the 3rd of the scale. Now we go 3 above that up to the 5th. There's the 5. We're tuned in 5ths. So now from that 5 note, we actually have another interval of 3. In this case, we're playing to that flat 7 note, instead of going back up to the root. So we're adding another interval of 3 to the minor chord. Such a cool sound. So this is another thing that as an arpeggio, we always want to talk about stating that as a chord or playing it rhythmically. And now also playing an arpeggio. If we were playing, again, from this root note, we'll play the 3rd, in this case a minor 3rd, a C note there, then the 5th, then the 7 note there, the flat 7. It's just a little box at the 2nd and the 5th fret. So those colors are going to match perfectly. The other thing that we always make a big deal of, this is with the index finger covering the root note. If my ring finger is on an A note here, we're going to do the same thing. Then to the minor 3rd, then the 5th scale degree, the E note, and then again, instead of going back to an A, we're going to have more color with the minor 7. So this is basing it off of, again, kind of building it from what we know as an A major chord, making it minor, then making it minor 7. So another really useful inversion of this would be this version of the chord. Now think of it as straight up as we can. If you already know how to play your 7 chords, if you've moved like from, use this foundation, and then you are familiar with this shape, there's also a video up about the 7 chords. So if you're not following along there, you could check that video out. All I have to do from that 7 chord is make the major third, once again, a minor note. Same chord, different inversion. Now I have the G note, or the flat 7, is the lowest note in the chord, then the minor third, then the root note. So there's no 5th in the chord at all. But this is a common, like if you're playing a 1, 2 minor 5 progression, like a G, 7 to a 2 minor, that little move that we get to make. From that minor 7, if I move that G note down to an F sharp, there's the F sharp half diminished chord, which would beg to resolve back to G or a G7. So for the more swing style that you may encounter rhythmically, those shapes can be really helpful in the minor 7 world and have a completely different sound than when I hear this. I think of like jam band kind of stuff and just riffing on a chord like that while someone plays a solo over it. Or these particular voicings tend to remind me more of swing music and what we might do there, following a chord progression and using those. So many times what's cool about a chord, it happens to be the notes that don't change. In this case, the A minor 7 down to the F sharp half diminished back to the G7. That move is so cool. And then we move the A note down, landing us here a half step above the G7. Using those minor 7 chords in a context like that, rather than just the minor A to a D7, a little bit more adventurous with the color of the chords that we're playing, and very nicely laid on the fretboard of the mandolin. So hopefully this can help and be a resource for the minor 7 chords.